Hi there, welcome back, beautiful beings. How are you today? So, your spirit guides today want to ask you, what if your life is perfect just as it is? Why are we so hung up on perfection, by the way? What does it matter? Do you think a flower sits there before it's about to blossom and it's going, oh my God, I need to be perfect when I open up? Because if I'm not perfect, Spirit's going to be so cross with me. Or whatever. I can just imagine the flower straining to blossom like, oh, if I don't open perfectly, oh, my life is over. We're the only ones that seem to think that somehow we need to be perfect in some way. Whether it's how we look, so many strive for the perfect look. Others strive to be the perfect person, the kindest, the most compassionate, the most caring, the most spiritual. Now there's so much buzz, over this word enlightenment or awakening has become this thing now, that and people strive for this perfection, that somehow enlightenment looks a certain way, and when you reach that, then you'll be perfect. But who said we needed to be perfect in the first place? When a tree grows, so many trees grow out there, they don't even grow straight up. A lot of them are quite crooked in their growing. They go one way and then they go another way, and then their trunks are just all over the place. But a tree doesn't sit there going, oh, no, I have to grow perfectly. I have to grow straight up. I can't go any other way because this is what perfect looks like. Or a bird, when it sits on a branch, it doesn't sit there thinking, I have to sing the perfect notes. The perfect notes. Otherwise, Spirit will be cross. God will be angry with me because I didn't sing the perfect note. What will I do? Think about it. You are perfect just as you are. You don't need to be anything else. You don't need to do anything else. You just are. Divine perfection. Firstly, your path is perfect, just as it is. Spirit is receiving all the information it needs to receive through your beautiful human experience. Your soul, your higher self, is knowing itself more fully because of your beautiful human experience. And if you took out one thing, just one, the experience would be completely different. Just one. What would it be like? I often stop to think, what would it be like if I never met my second partner and I'd have stayed with my first partner? What would it be like if I never went through IVF and I never had my daughter? What would my life be like? Choices. What if I'd have stayed in South America and never come back to Australia? What would my life be like? My experiences would be very, very different. What if I hadn't asked for a sister and I had been raised an only child? What would my life have been like? Very, very different. Because when my mum was pregnant with me, they told her she wasn't supposed to have children. My mum only had one kidney at the time, and the doctors told her that it was really risky, that she could die giving birth. So she was already pregnant with me. So she thought, well, it's well worth the risk. But when I was 5, I asked for, I was 4 because I was 5 when my sister was born. So I would have been 4 when I asked for my sister. Knowing the risk, my mum should have said, look, no, I can't have another one. But she didn't. She risked having another child. And what if I would have had my baby brother, because my mum got pregnant a third time and the doctors told her this time, you can't have this baby. You won't be able to bring it to term. And so she terminated that pregnancy. But that was my brother. It was a boy. So, my beautiful beings, my life would have been so different if there was 3 of us and not the 2. Or if I'd have been an only child. Completely different life, completely different experience. So, my beautiful beings, everything that has been in your life, from your siblings, if you've had no siblings, your parents or no parents, however it is that you've come into this world, it's all perfect for your experience. Perfect. Perfect. It's funny, I think of that word, and when we strive for perfection, it takes away from our joy, from our enjoying the experience. I was just thinking back to so many years of playing piano, and as a little one, I started at 10, and there was always this striving for perfection, that the song had to be perfect, it had to be perfect. And even some of my students have that, as I was, especially in my earlier years when I started teaching, and I would try and get that out of them, that it's not about it being perfect. And maybe we were in the early days when I was new to doing exams here, 30 years ago in Australia, and I was preparing them for exams. And maybe then, yes, it was a little bit about getting it perfect more than enjoying the music, because it's an exam and you're going to get a grade, and that was going to reflect on me, I guess, was what I was thinking, as a teacher. I used to take that on really personally, that if they did bad, if they got a C, which was the minimum, or if they failed, that would reflect on me, that I hadn't done my job properly, Had nothing to do with them not practicing, too busy or whatever. And maybe they shouldn't be signing up for exams, but that's a whole other, as you get experience, you get better at all those things. So, talking to the parents, maybe she shouldn't be doing exams, or he shouldn't be doing exams, or all of that comes up. But I remember for so long, I was trying to say to my daughter recently, for so long, I just didn't like playing in front of other people, because there was that pressure of getting it perfect, and, even when I was practicing, it would take away from enjoying it, because I would put all this pressure on myself that it had to be perfect. It had to be perfect. It had to be perfect, And so you don't really enjoy the music. You don't sit there and enjoy every note like I do now. I don't care about the perfection of it. Sometimes I'll just sit with a chord, these notes and how they sound together, and just the joy of that sound, how beautiful they blend together, and or just a passage, a few bars. I'll play through a few bars, and I just take in those notes. I just allow them to sit in my system, and how it makes me feel now. It's very different to when I was little and it was all about it being perfect, especially later when I started doing exams. But what happened? I was about 13. I'm trying to think the exact year. It is in my first book. It's more detail in there, and I did sort of look it up because I couldn't remember it exactly then either. The year that I did, because I got this, we had the program, and in there it had the year, it had everything in there. And I went to this Stedford, this competition in the city. And we were playing in the Opera House. No pressure, right? Which is like, here in Australia, it's like amazing. It's gorgeous Opera House. So anyway, we were going there to play in this competition. And when I got there, there were 28 of us in this, and I was smack in the middle. I was number 14 of the 28 students that were all playing. And at that time, we were all playing the same song. You were allocated different ages with different songs. And so you chose the song when you signed up for it, probably 6 months earlier, I imagine. My piano teacher signed me up. And as I'm sitting there listening to number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, theirs all sounded different to mine, all of them. And I'm sitting there and I'm starting to freak out, And I look down at my music as number 5 comes on, number 6 comes on, number 7, and they're all playing it the same. But now I'm looking at my music and I'm thinking, oh, I've played it all wrong. My rhythm was all wrong. The notes were correct, but the rhythm was wrong. And I'm freaking out, freaking out. I didn't want to play. But my parents, we'd come a long way to get into the city to do this. My parents were there. They drove me there. My piano teacher was there. And I was like, oh. Now, in retrospect, I went through it and it was a blur. My hands were so sweaty. I was slipping all over the keys at the time. I was just so stressed out. In retrospect, when I think of it now, to the judges, if I'd have relaxed into, oh, okay, mine's different, so what? I'm just going to play it as I've learned it and just enjoy it. If I'd have gone with that attitude, for them it would have been a breath of fresh air because it would have sounded different. Okay, the rhythm's wrong, but it's musical, right? I wasn't going to get first prize for it because I hadn't played it correctly. But to them, it would have been wonderful, that, oh, okay, it's something different. It's not the same as the other. They're all churning out the same thing, So in that sense, it would have been great. But it was all about being perfect, about being perfect. And what I learnt through all my years of doing exams, preparing students for the exams and all of that, is in the comments, every time I've observed, it's never been about them being perfect. It's never been about them being exactly the same as the recordings that we had with the books. Even if they sounded exactly the same, it was never about that. The comments would always be about how musical they were. At the end of the day, at the end of it, we didn't have a number out of, say they had to play 5 songs, right? 3 main songs and then 2 extras, they were called. In the first song, they didn't detail out, okay, you made 10 mistakes out of 1,000 notes. You never get that score in music. It doesn't exist. Not once did I see any of that. Oh, you made 5 mistakes. I counted them one by one, in the reports that we were receiving. Never once. Nor was I expecting that. And it didn't occur to me in the beginning, in the first 10 years where I used to find it quite stressful to prepare for exams, it's lack of experience, lack of knowledge. Because one thing is for you to do the exams personally yourself. You sit for them, you do them. And then it's different being on the other side of it and you're the one preparing your students for these exams. And there's so much experience to be gained as the years pass on how to do this well. But what I began to pick up on with the years is that the examiners were more interested in how musical it sounded, whether it had heart. Many times the comments would come back that it sounded mechanical. It sounded robotic, like it's stiff even was the other word. Why? Because these students were they were hung up on it being perfect. And so it takes away from the enjoyment of learning the song and really just sitting with the notes and the pleasure of these notes, how they make us feel when we're playing them, even when we're practicing. It doesn't matter that we're making all these mistakes, but even through the mistakes, how does it sound? So many times my students will make up a rhythm and I know it's not the correct rhythm. But if it's not for an exam and we're doing it for, say, a concert, that we've got one coming up at the end of the year for Christmas, I'll leave it and I will explain to them, look, it's not the right rhythm as it's written in this music. This is what it sounds like, and I'll play it for them so they can hear the difference. But I'll say to them, you know what? I've got 2 more playing this song for the concert. Let's keep it that way so at least it sounds different. Or I'll move them, In some concerts, if the kids are comfortable to move positions, we're doing Jingle Bells. And Jingle Bells is in C position or in C major, if you like, and I move them to A minor, A position. And so we say it's a sad Christmas, or we'll name it something else, Same with the Ode to Joy. I move it from the C position, the happy state, and we move it to the A minor to make it sad. And then I'll say to the kids, oh, I think we called it Ode to Sadness the one time we did it in that. So we do all of those things because it's not about just the song. It's not about churning out 10 Ode to Joys and they all sound the same. It's not about that. It's about making it unique to that child, to that student, that when they play it, it stands out for them. And it's not like, oh, here we go again, another Ode to Joy, another Jingle Bells. Oh, everyone rolls their eyes because it's another perfect Jingle Bells. Who cares? You know? So in music especially, there's this high pressure of getting it perfect. And I feel that because of that pressure, we miss so much. Because music is so much more than the perfect note. So much more. Or the perfect rhythm. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The music is about how it makes you feel, and when you play it for others, how it makes them feel. Whether the notes are right or wrong, here or there. You know? I remember once upon a time, my mother-in-law telling me the story. She'd watched this documentary with Maria Callas, the opera singer. And one of the critics was saying, oh, you missed a note. You know, you didn't quite reach that note when you were singing. And she said to him, really? You picked up on one note when I, sung thousands of notes perfectly? Did the song not touch you in any way? What were you doing there? Many times I'll hear an opera song and I'll just start crying for no reason. And I don't even know what they're singing about because it's in Italian or German or different language. I have no clue what they're singing about. There's one in particular, if you've seen The Shawshank Redemption, when he locks himself up in that office space. They've got all these books and they've got records and they've got everything, and he plays this record and he puts it out for everyone to hear it, and there's two gorgeous ladies singing this opera song. I think it's Mozart. I think he said it's Mozart, but when they start singing, and even in the movie, or if it's not in that movie, I'll just start crying. I have no idea what they're singing about, but there's something about their voices that I just feel like my soul is soaring, and I feel with that critic that was talking to Maria Callas that day, he just missed the whole point. That whole piece could have been taking him on this journey, beyond words. But what, you get hung up on one note that she didn't sing quite perfectly? It's like looking at a painting and there's a little smudge in a corner, But, now the whole painting is ruined because of this little smudge. When there's thousands of perfect brush strokes for this painting. But even if they're not perfect, you're missing the point. It was never about the perfection. It's about how it makes you feel when you're looking at that painting. How it makes you feel when you're listening to that beautiful song. How does it make you feel? And if you're too busy counting the mistakes, you're not feeling anything. You're not allowing yourself to take that journey. So be like that painting. Be like the song. It's not about the perfection. It's about the journey. All right, my beautiful beings. We love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. We love you. Bye for now.